Smash Up.
Smash Up is a battle game using factions which are based on geek and science fiction cultures such as zombies, pirates, and dinosaurs, etc. You take these two factions and smash them together to make your deck to fight against your opponent who also has two factions smashed together. You use these minions and actions from the factions that you have to destroy bases and mess with your opponent. Destroy bases, get victory points, and win. Okay, now that we have talked how to play, let's talk about our camera. The camera I'm using for this video is the Sony DCR SX40 handy camera. I must have got this camera way back when I was 8 or 7, somewhere back in 2012. But it has served me well these years and has been the only camera that I've used to film. The quality is what you'd expect from a camera made in the 2010s. AKA the quality is garbage. Welcome back to the 2012s, guys. Maybe if I do another review, I can get another retro camera to show off. Okay, back to the card game. Smash Up is a good game. It's satisfying to have a ton of minions on a base and finally break it and get all the victory points. Or, just as your opponent is about to break a base, you move all their minions to another base, getting them no victory points. A lot of the factions even complement this satisfying element of Smash Up. All the factions from the Monster Smash expansion are all about powering up your minions to a higher level to break a base faster, and
oh man!
Is it satisfying to power up one of your minions each turn with her Doctor's talent? Or how the summon action lets you play another minion? It feels amazing to play these cards and watch your opponent's face drop.
Like the pathetic scum they are.
Which I think is pretty hard to find in a card game. You can also make these insane or strategical decks with Smash Up, which is what I look for in a good card game. Both a fun party game, but it can also be a strategical duel. Or just have your friend Terran use robot unicorns and use 10 seahorses in a row, even though it clearly says 1 per turn, that evil prick. The game can seem very chaotic at first when you are first playing with more people at a table, with a lot of the newer cards being more confusing. Though soon it becomes an intense game where you and one other person have the same amount of victory points, and it comes down to the final base break and who can get the first spot. This is Smash Up at its best, with some of the best games being this competitive battle. Even the cards are both designed to fight against multiple people or just against one. This is where Smash Up can shine, with these factions being more of a strategical decision for how well you can play, rather than you just picking the two factions that sound the coolest. Probably one of the best aspects of Smash Up, aside from the satisfying gameplay, is the artwork. Especially with the base set, each of the factions is captured in a different art style that fits them. The wizard cards have this glowing magic that the wizards are doing, making the cards come alive. Or the alien faction having their cards being around or on Earth, making them feel like they really are invading. Even dinosaurs have these bright green colors that clash versus the silver enhancements that the dinosaurs are wearing. The borders for the cards are different between factions and suited for each of the factions too, like robots having this metal paneling, making the player even more immersed in the art style. Same thing for the bases, each art style suits a different faction. There are some problems too. The old factions are a lot better than the new ones. Aliens from the base set are just clearly better tornadoes, or how literally any faction is better than pirates. And I mean literally any faction. Or how robots and wizards are overpowered in both beginner factions with basic play another minion or draw another card functions. There are just some imbalances in the factions that ruin the game. Another problem is some faction cards are super easy to follow, like pirates, and some are so hard to follow and can easily have a mix-up between table to table, like tricksters, geeks, and time travelers, or literally any faction from the Cthulhu set. This is the worst part about Smash Up. Since the factions have their own different types of mechanics and functions, some of the factions are more complicated than others. What happens is when you take a faction that's a little confusing and combine it with a faction that's the total opposite in playstyle, then you're playing in this gray area of rules where you don't really know that you can or can't do this or that. Maybe because of the faction cards being designed to be used on itself, or you having this one expansion, and there's lots of other reasons. Then players argue over rules and make up weird rules, so it makes sense at the table. The cards are just hard to understand sometimes. Some of the booster boxes are a lot better than the other ones too, such as Awesomeness level 9000 being the best with satisfying but fair factions like Steampunks and Killer Plants, while other expansions are trash with tornadoes and superheroes. It really feels like after the first few expansions they just gave up and added a bunch of random mechanics and gimmicky factions. The new expansions have no regard for the previous expansions, or just the base set in terms of how they are played and art direction with the new cards.
さあ、ユーマと戦うのはデュエル初心者のたかしくん。現れろ、希望、ホープ。俺のカード？そう、新しいスターターデッキはユーマのカード入り。強化パックでパワーアップもできるんです。現れろ、希望、ホープレイ、負けた。コナミ。
Though I think Smash Up works better as a party game, the outplay potential is so great for a more competitive match. It makes the game worthwhile just to find a good match to play, or at least the satisfying feeling of playing free minions in one turn with robots. Though it's hard to get into with all the expansions and imbalances, and the cards being hard to understand at times, the base game is completely worth it with simpler and sometimes funner gameplay. There are so many factions that I didn't talk about in this video, so those are definitely worth checking out if you're gonna get the game. Smash Up has a faction for everyone's playstyle, so this is really a card game that I can recommend to everybody.